Shane McClanahan suffered a scary injury this weekend. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Monday, March 24th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and lots of news to recap from this weekend, starting with Shane McClanahan. He left his start early on Saturday. He made a pitch and instantly just looked like his arm went dead. And thinking about him returning from two Tommy John surgeries, it seemed like, we're in for a pretty lengthy injury here. But we got an update on Sunday. It turns out he's dealing with an inflamed nerve in his left triceps, and he'll start the season on the IL. Kevin Cash said they are, quote, very fortunate that it wasn't worse. So we don't have a timeline here, Scott, but this seems like, all things considered, good news for Shane McClanahan. Where did you lower him to in your rankings?
Oh, it seems like very good news. Best case scenario was being called. And some on the Rays beat were talking like it would be just a minimal amount of time that McClanahan misses, not meaning just 15 days, like a 15-day IL stint, longer than that potentially, but back within a matter of a few weeks, possibly. So we can hope for that. We don't really have a great history of this injury to feel like we can confidently say what the timetable is. And I feel like with most nerve inflammation injuries, it's a matter of waiting for that nerve to calm down, which can be pretty unpredictable, pretty case-by-case basis. So I think there's still reason for concern here. Not that he's going to miss the full season, obviously, but that it could be longer than we're expecting. I went ahead and moved him 52nd at starting pitcher, McClanahan, just ahead of Grayson Rodriguez and Sean Manaea, other pitchers who were missing the beginning of the season, obviously. McClanahan, I think, is the best of that group. And unlike Rodriguez, at least it's not his elbow. So that's why I have McClanahan one spot ahead.
Both Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts were originally in the lineup Sunday for their Freeway Series against the Angels, and then Mookie Betts was scratched from the lineup. Sounds like he's still dealing with whatever illness he's got going on, and he said he's all the way down to 157 pounds. So if he was truly around his listed weight entering spring training, 180 pounds, that would mean he's lost over 20 pounds already, Scott. So this is a pretty big deal. Are you planning to lower Mookie Betts?
I think you have to at this point. And it's one thing to have a stomach bug, like we've all experienced before. It's intense. It's a rough couple of days, but it's very short-lived. Clearly, that's not what's going on here, because a week later, he's still struggling to keep food down. He hasn't gotten an actual diagnosis yet. He needs to, because at this point, I'm worried about Mookie Betts beyond just his availability for a baseball game. So I think if you haven't drafted in your league yet, this knocks him out of the first round at the very least. Probably drops him behind the Fernando Tatis and Julio Rodriguez types to the middle of round 2. I don't know. I might keep passing him up then personally and see if I can get in a crazy discount, sure, like round 3. But I don't know. It's definitely a scary situation.
Gunnar Henderson will start the season on the IL with that intercostal strain, and GM Mike Elias said he hopes the absence will be measured in, quote, days, not weeks, for Gunnar Henderson here, Scott. Who would you rather have if you're still drafting, Gunnar Henderson or Mookie Betts?
Oh, Henderson. Henderson is healthy, I think. He's just not at a point where he's ready to play in games yet as he works his way back. So I think it might only be the first week that he's unavailable to you. That's it.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
Guys, can you feel it? Legends were born here. History was made here. These are hallowed grounds.
Hallowed grounds? The NCIS squad room?
Well, I wasn't talking about that, but I was talking about Augusta National.
All right. It's finally time for the Masters. I hear it's a tradition unlike any other.
Welcome back in FBT Express. Lots of news to recap from the weekend, and one of them, Red Sox prospect Christian Campbell has made the opening day roster, and my guess is that'll likely be as the team's starting second baseman. He does have some ability to play in the outfield as well. Scott, are you planning to move Christian Campbell up in your rankings after this news?
Not a ton. I ranked him about where I'd want to take him either way, because if he got sent down to start the year, it wouldn't be for long. He'd be the top prospect to stash, etc. And the other thing is I'm just not that optimistic about, now that he's made the roster, I'm not that optimistic he's going to be a great help right away, because he had a rough spring. It's clearly they wanted to give him the job from the beginning, and they made every excuse to give him the job because he didn't. It got a little better, I guess, over the course of spring training, but not so much better that you can understand why they're giving him this job, that you feel like he's going to hit the ground running as a rookie. The strikeout rate for spring training was over 30%. He hit only 167. He did have an opposite field home run over the weekend, which may have been the clincher for him. But the talk is he's late on fastballs. He's not able to catch up to major league velocity yet, which seems to be a problem for a lot of these young hitters when they first come up. It's something we hear about often, but it seems like an affliction for Campbell too. And I don't have a crystal ball, obviously high-end prospect, bright future. Maybe it clicks for him quicker than I'm giving him credit for, but the vibe I'm getting is sort of like Jackson Holliday when he first got called up for the Orioles. You know, he struggled with strikeouts unexpectedly last spring as well, and continued to struggle throughout his multiple chances in the majors. So late round flyer, I'm fine with for your bench. You know, if you've already drafted and Campbell's out there, pick him up, plop him on your bench, hope for the best, but don't pin all your hopes and dreams to him.
The Rockies gonna Rocky. This weekend, they traded Nolan Jones back to the Cleveland Guardians, where he started his career, in exchange for infielder Tyler Freeman. Now, they did that trade because Thairo Estrada suffered a broken wrist. He's out 4 to 8 weeks, so they needed a replacement, but still, this is kind of a baffling trade here from the Rockies' perspective. The second part of it is, my thought was, okay, they're clearing a spot for their prospect, Zach Veen, to be on the opening day roster. No, turns out they're sending him back to the minor league, Scott. So lots of moving parts here. Is Nolan Jones still worth a draft pick, a late round pick in a 5 outfielder league? And if you drafted Zach Veen, do you hold on to him?
I'd like to hold on to Veen. I still think there's a lot of upside there for fantasy, and it won't be long till he's up. I don't know if they're doing the service time manipulation game or what, but Nick Martini is who's filling in for Nolan Jones instead. Nick Martini is 34 years old, a journeyman, has never really stuck anywhere, just always seems to be a right place in the right time kind of guy. And so I imagine before April is up, Veen will be in the majors, as long as he continues to perform in AAA and stays healthy, which is always a question for him. So 5 outfielder leagues, I'd try to hold on to him. I understand other interesting players are going to emerge, and I may not be able to pull it off. I don't think Zach Veen is can't miss as a fantasy asset, but I'd try to hold on to him because I think for stolen bases especially, he could be useful. Meanwhile, I don't think Nolan Jones loses a lot of value here. You'd never like to see a hitter leave Coors Field, but Cleveland played pretty well for left-handed hitters, and just the fact that he's with an organization that's better at player development and has a better reputation for that, and he's been with Cleveland longer than he was with Colorado. They know Nolan Jones pretty well. I think he'll be the better half of a platoon in right field to start out, and has the potential to earn more with as hard as he impacts the ball.
Speaking of young, exciting outfielders, we did get 2 who were actually named to their opening day roster. So Victor Scott with the Cardinals and Alan Roden with the Blue Jays. Scott, who do you like more between those 2, Victor Scott and Alan Roden?
Scott for Roto leagues. He could be a true standout in stolen bases. He also had a great spring last year, made the opening day roster, fell flat on his face. So I guess that could happen again. And I wouldn't want to make a huge investment in Scott for that reason, make him your entire plan for stolen bases or anything like that. We don't know how long he's going to last in the role, but he has a ton of speed, and we'll get a chance to show it in the majors. I like the skill set for Roden even more. Good pull and fly ball tendencies, high-end exit velocities are impressive. Walked twice as often as he struck out this spring. Could be a huge points league contributor, but I imagine it'll be a platoon role for Roden at first, so I'm leaving him for 5 outfielder leagues.
All right, for more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.